So Graham, obviously we've played a game now. How does it feel to be back in the swing of things with the players?
Yeah, well, of course, it's great to be back. I think we were back a little bit too early, considering we'd had a 5-week lockdown. Well, 5 weeks for us, having missed the game prior to the lockdown. So we're probably back a couple of weeks too early, if truth be known, last week. But it was what it was, and it was the same for everybody, of course. But yeah, so it's great to be back, and great to be back on the training ground and doing everything that we've been loving doing so far. We picked up pretty much where we left off, if truth be known, training-wise. So. But the result wasn't what we wanted, of course, as you know, from last week. But yeah, just good to be back.
Talking about the result, how have you reflected from that game?
It's very difficult to put any positive spin on an 8-1, you know, and people would call you out for trying to do that. But ultimately, we played really well in the first half and 2-1 down at half time. We had the wind at our backs, so slightly wind assisted, but we played really well, and typical to the problems we've faced this year, putting a 90-minute performance was evident last week, and unfortunately our hearts were broke very early in the second half, and to be 2-1 down to one of the top teams in the league, second in the league currently, it's very difficult to motivate yourself and emotionally get yourself back involved. So we 3-1 down, and that was that. So yeah, we reflected on the fact that we'd lost the game and we've moved on to the next chapter very quickly.
Talking about the new signings, Eva Rogers and Imogen Maguire, to help their skills and abilities.
Yeah, well, Eva's a top player. I tried to get her in the summer, and logistically it wasn't possible. That's changed, and she's back with us now. We've signed her from Wolves, so that's a very, very good signing for us. Eva's just a good player, a good person, but a very, very good player at this level. And Imogen, I don't know too much about Imogen, other than she's a highly recommended young goalkeeper. And she played last week, unfortunately for her, really, but making a debut at senior level in goal and letting 18 wouldn't bode too well. But she's handled that brilliantly and accepted it for what it was. And is a good, very good top youngster to add to this group. Whether she's right now and whether she needs a little bit of development, I think naturally that will happen. You know, just the fact she's very, very young, just 17, I think. But two top signings for us, and it shows our intent. We're still signing players. We're still attractive enough for people to want to come and play for. And despite what the table says today, and despite the result last week, people still want to come play for us. And I think that's a good sign that the message coming out of the club, from players particularly, is that it's still a good place to be.
Amongst three departures last week, long-serving player Lisa Juma-Palmer left the club. Talk to me about that. It's a really good service for the club.
Oh well, Lisa's just an inspiration to everybody, really. To me, to everybody, and it might have looked very dodgy, you know, with a number of players leaving at what appeared a similar time, that there's problems here, but not at all. Every one of them had a very honest and sincere reason for leaving, and not one of them was because of an issue here at the club, or with me, or with anybody else within the group. It wasn't the case. So everyone who's moved on with good intent and good reason, but Lisa particularly, personal reasons, and I can't speak highly enough about her, and I wish there was 20 Lisa June-Palmers available for my football club, and we'd be in a very, very good shape situation if that was the case. But an absolute ambassador, she will continue to be an ambassador for the club. She'll continue to do some work for the club, and I'd love her to come and get involved in the coaching side of things, really. So that's a little message to her, really, and something her and I have discussed briefly as she mentioned she was leaving. So I'd still want her involved at the club at some level, certainly.
Great stuff. And talk to me about today's game. How big is it?
Massive. Oh, it's the biggest game of the season for us, absolutely. It gets us out the bottom two if we can win, for the first time in a very, very long time for this football club, prior to me coming in. And it's psychologically a nice step to be outside the bottom two, going into Christmas and the New Year would be brilliant. But it's a must-win game, you know. And if we draw, it's a blow. If we draw this game, if we lose the game, it's a bigger blow. It's not the end, but they're massive blows if we don't get the full 3 points today. And realistically, I've reflected on my whole 12 months plus here. I've only played teams in the top half of the table since I've been here. I've played one team which have been in the bottom half of the table, and we won that game against Loughborough. So that's no reason, it's no excuses. We want to be challenging the top half of the table, of course we do. But the bottom line is, the 12 league games I've had since I've been here, 11 have been top half teams, and 8 of them 11 have been the top 3. we've had a tough time, and this game is a real marker of who and what we are today. So I'm fingers crossed in a couple of hours' time we've got 3 points in the bag and we're starting to make progress and show people the team we actually are.